time do you have?
6:05.
Okay, we should start. Alright, let's call the meeting to order at 6:03. Okay, so I'll give you an update from last time. Basically, Eli came in and there was a couple other folks here, and we started going through the bike ordinances, and pretty much didn't have a whole lot of a huge amount of changes from what the proposed changes were. We wanted to make sure, one of the things that was brought up was the thoughts about e-bikes, which are partially powered electric bikes. It's almost like an electric moped, where you can pedal it, but you can also, it also has an engine.
Sure.
And because the current ordinance prohibits electric and motorized vehicles on the bike path. So we wanted to make sure that we brought it up to standards with ADA, to make sure that we're not restricting wheelchairs necessarily from the bike trail. But we weren't sure about e-bikes, whether that would be considered a assistive device, you know, for someone who can't pedal.
Well, if they have qualified disability, I guess that's the big question.
And you know, and then what's the thoughts on that? So we are contacting the rail trail on that one. So we just basically went through most of these. We were going to go back to, because I think Eli, you stated that you wanted to come in at our next meeting to give a presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to do that.
We skipped the contentious part, which is the moving over to the right part. Because I know that the police wanted to send over a representative for that discussion, and Eli wanted to do a presentation for that. So we'd go back to that one. We talked about some of the areas that were restricted to be able to ride on the sidewalk. And one of the things that we discussed was making sure that all the sidewalks that fed the bike path were, you know, basically we don't want to restrict bikes to off of those sidewalks if we don't have to. You know, like Park Street and other areas with no shoulder where you can have children riding bikes, hopefully going to the bike trail. And if people are being respectful, then there should be no problems.
Is there any, I'm sorry, again, because I wasn't here,
Yeah.
I apologize. Was there any discussion, though, of like restricting certain areas, like
Yes.
the downtown area?
Downtown.
Great.
So right now it's I don't remember, but right now it's basically there's quite a few streets that are restricted.
It's on page 8.
I'm just looking at that.
Yeah. And so basically what we kind of thought would make the most sense would be Cottage Street, Union Street, and Main Street. Because those are the most congested and the most difficult sidewalk areas, because you have people coming in and out of businesses.
Now, I just, for the sake of discussion, Union Street, I'm just thinking, you know, the area, it's a very narrow section there, like in front of, or between specifically, I can't believe I'm blanking on this.
I pulled your map right there.
Yeah. Come on. Between Nini's and, let's say, I guess the corner would be where the Brass Cat is.
Yeah.
It's a very narrow area. Would we basically... okay, you can go around that. Never mind. I was just trying to think, you know, it's an area I would hate to see, you know, children having to go out on the street because there's barely enough room for 2 cars, but they can go around past in front of Maple Street.
They could go that way, to avoid the traffic if they didn't want to.
Right.
Or they could walk, which is probably what I would do with my kids if I was riding there.
Right.
So that's I think we got to helmets, but I think that's pretty much where we ended. Oh wait, did we? Yeah, we talked a little bit about penalties, but we got through pretty much the whole thing.
We also didn't really talk about the. We also didn't really talk much about the ordinances that were the same as state law and whether those should be kept.
Yeah,
I'd like to have on the table at some point.
the ordinances that are the same as state law.
Yeah.
Just trying to see which one. Do you, as far as the fancier trick riding ordinance, which is 3.39A, that's one that I felt like we could just do without. Doesn't really. It's kind of silly.
3.39A. Right.
And there's lots to interpret on what exactly is full control.
Right.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 3.39A. Yeah, that's pretty problematic. I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's. I didn't have any problems repealing that one. I'm just trying to. Which ones did you? Where we were at the same that you were talking about?
The list at the beginning. Redundant ordinances.
3.37.
337A, 337B, 338, 339B, 340, 342, 343, 345, 348, 358, 359, 360, 361A.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about that, and I didn't bring my book. You don't happen to have your book of ordinances?
No, not on me.
Oh, I guess I should have thought of that too.
Because I'm not just gonna carte blanche say we should strike these out before I look at them, and I left my book in my garage when I pulled my bag out to get on my bike. So
I guess we could do that in a minute.
yeah, we'll have to do that in the next one. What we define bicycle as a wheeled vehicle propelled by pedals and operated by one or more persons. Just simplified that.
Can I ask what the concern with would be having an ordinance that was redundant with state law?
Well, I guess one problem is that if the state law changes, then suddenly you have something that's that conflicts with state law in the future.
But
then we could always reconvene and discuss it as an ordinance.
Or there, I mean, within ordinances, we're allowed to be more restrictive than state law. So if our ordinance is more restrictive, then ours is just more restrictive. You know, it's not necessarily going to conflict. Ours will supersede if we are more restrictive. It will go to the more restrictive language as opposed to the language of the state.
That's not my understanding. My understanding is that the state, I mean, in certain aspects, like where you're allowed to ride on the sidewalk, the town can decide that. But my understanding is that when it comes to regulating traffic on the road, that the state gets to do that.
I think we're going to get bogged down again in that whole discussion that I think we're delaying a later time.
Yeah, until next time.
But what I'm saying is sometimes we put in policy or procedure that is redundant. I mean, it's already stated, but it kind of makes the language whole.
Right.
Or it makes it more accessible when if somebody just wants to look at the local ordinance, oh, okay, well, there is a helmet law in Easthampton, and well, yes, it's the same as the state law, but we just want to reiterate that there's that expectation from the city that you will be wearing a helmet if you're 10 years old. So sometimes I'm just saying having redundancy, it's just to restate the expectations, even though they might be completely in line with the state.
Right. Okay.
So I just wondered if there was any specific concern about having some redundancies.
Yeah. Well, I guess I guess I have two concerns. One is, one is what happens if state law changes, right? Then, then we have to do this all over again, right? And who knows how long who knows how long there'll be a problem before it gets, before it can get fixed. Because I don't know when the last time we looked at these are, right? And then the other one is just, that it just seems to make the ordinance, more convoluted than they need to be, to put a lot of stuff in that doesn't need to be there.
Well, I mean, I think this is a bit of a moot point without actually having those sections in front of us. So, we'll, I'll just make sure that I get copies of those for next time.
Okay.
And, because that way it'll make sense for.
I mean, if if there's a particular reason to keep them in, then sure. But I think if there isn't, then by default they should be taken out.
We could, some of them we might find that we don't need. Some of them we might want to tighten up the language. Make it even better. So I'm just trying to think. The helmet thing, I think that's one of the things I really would like to talk to the chief about, because I've been noticing the helmet law is 16, which I didn't realize. I thought it was 12, but it's 16.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing kids all over Easthampton not wearing helmets.
And the reason it's confusing is because it's 16 in one place and 12 in another place.
Yeah. So that's one of the ones that's going to get tightened up, and is going to come with a statement from us saying we'd like to see that enforced more, especially when I was picking my kids up from school the other day. It was like a 9 or 10-year-old riding down 141 with no helmet. Not the hill, but like down North Holyoke Street. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, also keep in mind that, there are I guess the 5 layers of safety, right? The first 4 have to do with not crashing, right? And the 5th one has to do with protecting yourself if you crash. So it's not anywhere near the most important aspect of bicycle safety.
No, but it's the most important aspect if your head's heading towards the pavement. Because helmets work. I know that firsthand. So, and then we talked about penalties. And if this was a mistake in the filing of the. What happened was the penalty got amended to 100. So violators of this section of this chapter may be subject to confiscation or basically.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Of said wheeled object, and $25 at the discretion of the police officer. The penalty was amended to $125 under Chapter 6 by the City Council on August 7th of 2007. But that particular one I actually wrote, this 125 penalty change, was for the bike path for motorized vehicles traveling on the bike path, because we were having a lot of snowmobiles ripping up, and their treads would dig into the pavement, and it was causing like huge amounts of damage.
Sure.
So I was like, well, the cops were like, well, we don't feel like we can chase them for a $25 fine. Like,
right.
That's a waste of our time. So, we put it up to $125. That was not supposed to be, like, you're not supposed to get a $125 fine if you're riding without your helmet.
Right.
We good 8-year-old riding down the street without a helmet on.
Right.
So are we looking to?
So we're just going to clean that up. We're just going to,
the 25 is also above what it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be 20 is the maximum, and the confiscation part, I think, really needs to be taken out.
Yeah, I'm not, unless I would say I'm okay with confiscation if it's a operating under the influence thing. If they need to take the bike because the person's under the influence and they're going to arrest the person. I don't know if that's implied. That's one of the questions I had for the police officer, but
Yeah.
One of them, they couldn't make it tonight, so.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to, I mean, I guess if it's implied, then whatever law is implied takes care of that. But if it's not implied and you're putting it in, then I think it's important to specify exactly what happens to the bike after it's confiscated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I said, even the confiscation, I wasn't there for the original language, but if you're talking about a motorized vehicle again, like I've seen these, I don't know what you would call them, scooters. It's like a skateboard with a little handle.
The electric one? I mean, not the gas-powered ones? Yeah.
That's right, zipping up and down the roads.
Yeah.
And something like that could easily be put onto the bike path. And under the circumstances, I think confiscation would be inappropriate.
Yeah, that would, I mean, for those little beastly things. Yeah, I mean, and they're loud too.
Very loud.
They're like a one stroke. They're really loud. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we're going to look at tightening up. Eli, I agree with the confiscation for just like a minor thing. So I think that's one of the things we'll try to suss out when we get the police officers here.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, is there anything else you wanted to add today before? Because I think since we don't have Dawn here and we don't have the police, and you're going to give your presentation next time, maybe we should just, if we don't have any pressing things, we'll get our information from the Rail Trail Committee on what they think about e-bikes. We'll get an answer. I'm gonna ask Jack Fitzgibbons about the state law, local ordinance symbiosis.
Okay.
So, so
Who is that?
he's the city attorney.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to, if we're changing laws, we got to make sure that we're being lawful.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on before?
Not at the time, no.
Okay. So I'm thinking, our next scheduled meeting is for our regular city council meetings a week from tonight. So we'll probably do 2 weeks. We'll just start, since we have some stuff on our agenda, we might as well just start meeting off Wednesdays. If that works, does that work for you?
Definitely.
Okay. So it'll be not a week from today, but 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep it the same time, same place.
Okay.
But if the time does change, I'll let you know. And you can also just check the posting.
Right.
It goes in the paper. And it's posted upstairs as well.
Okay. Does it go on the calendar on the webpage?
I'm not sure if they put those. They should. Dave, do you know if they did?
Well, there are 2 places to check on the city website, and one is Barbara, the city clerk, has a calendar of reservations for rooms, and you have to go to her office page, city clerk, and you'll see it right there. And that's a really cool way because you're going to reserve the room,
Right.
and it's for a certain time, so you can always see that. She started doing that to avoid conflict with reservations.
Right. Oh, that's great.
I also posted it at my website. It's more accessible. Easthampton Minutes. I have that same calendar,
Okay.
and I also post public meetings with the agendas on my website.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I think we're, one way or another, I guess we're covered.
Very good.
All right.
Alrighty. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.